For so long, it felt like the PDGA just wasn't really listening to a lot of the players' concerns, but I feel like that has made a full 180. So with that, let's get into the 2026 proposed rule changes. And honestly, a lot of times, I'd feel like this guy.
Hello? Is anyone actually there? Are you actually hearing a single word I'm saying? Seriously.
But everybody just finds him charming. I walk in the room and for some reason, just the life gets sucked out of it. All the charm I can muster right now.
And if you like content like this, be sure to subscribe. I want to say a huge shout out to Mike Sullivan, who is part of the PDGA ruling committee, and he has been like the spokesman for all these amazing changes and informing the whole world about what is going on and allowing players to give active feedback before they make the final rule call, because this is not finalized, this is just proposed. And along with that, he feels so well informed and gives the exact rule number for so many of these changes, so it's clear that he fully understands what's going on. And I feel like the gist of these changes are removing bad faith arguments, which is just a good for all players. Like players abusing, addressing your lie, reasonable debris within your walk-up, choosing the best shot for your provisional, even if it wasn't the actual provisional. And the number one thing is benefit goes to the players, aka bad faith Andes. I've seen this so many rounds. People are like, we don't know for sure, so benefit goes to the player. That was actually not the true heart of the rule, and it's been kind of used and abused, so we finally get to see the removal of all those BS things. But with that said, what we did not get anything about C2 jump putts. If that'll be changed in the near future, it sounds like it very well might never change. But there are some talks that it might get reworked later down the road, as per usual every year. And along with that, we also did not get anything about foot faults. We did not get any clarification on if they will rework it, but they also said there's not really a great solution. Do you give players like 2 feet before your lie instead of 1 foot? Like, it's not really going to change anything. So in general, probably not going to be addressed for a while. And now let's rattle off some of the smaller ones with alliteration, my favorite. Flex starts are finally feeling fabulously fun. So first off, you can have beer during a flex start. I feel like anybody at any point in time could have done this beforehand, but now is officially approved. You have to drink a reasonable amount, but everyone knows what that means.
Let's get fucked up. Give me a cup, I'll drink till I throw up. Alcohol, my only friend. Making my...
And right after that, a very different addition is minors are able to be accompanied by the player without a separate guardian. Again, who is going to call you for having your kid at the round? Not really an issue, but it's fixed. And before we get to the final biggest change for flex starts, you can now play through a card. So if you are playing super quick with only 3 people, you can play through a card that's like 5, taking forever, MA4. It is officially totally allowed to play through that card. But the biggest change that, again, I thought was legal, but I guess it's not, is that you can now play 2 rounds during a flex start. So if you want to play MA2, MA3 back to back, you can now officially do that. You just have to state, hey, this round is going to be MA2, next round will be MA3. I really feel like now becoming a dad, like the only thing I can consistently do is flex starts. So being able to know, hey, if I want to, going back to back, that'd be so cool, and kind of like fix your round, be like, okay, I made so many dumb mistakes here. Let's try to clean it up and do MA1. I think that's really cool, and it benefits basically everybody. Clearly, clearing your lie can't contradict cantankerous card mates. There we go. All right, so basically this means you have to have small detached debris, and that is what you remove before your lie. It cannot be this huge limb or rock that's like embedded into the ground. I feel like this wasn't happening a ton, but I definitely saw it a couple of times. So it is officially a rule that it has to be movable by one person, has to be small enough that is not a huge part of the fairway, which feels hilarious that they have to make this rule. But again, I've seen it a couple of times, so good change. Obviously for pro players, this has been a huge issue and continues to be a huge issue. And for me personally, I actually think the rules being added could be a total 180 from the goal, but only time will tell. It is truly within the player's honesty and kind of good faith for this to be a good change. But the general rule now is 45 seconds for shots that are not putting, tee shots, and drop zones. Seems pretty fair. I feel like in general, there are a couple of times where I've used maybe 40 seconds when I'm like really tucked away in the woods. So this feels like a great rule change, and it feels like this really does benefit everybody, and it's not really hurting anyone. I think you could make an argument that the number one time violations were putting, but it's probably good to address that people are putting forever and it needs to still kind of not happen. But the biggest change is just for pros, which includes Elite Series and Majors. And apparently the player committee heavily agreed on this call. and that is to have 2 time extensions per round. This has been something that Gannon has argued for so many years, and I think he'll utilize it basically every event. And the gist is that if you do have a hard shot that takes a little bit more time, you're kind of tucked away in the woods, you can just like tell your card, hey, I'm gonna take a time extension, and you're allowed to have extra time. And to me, this feels like a totally fair application of allowing more players to have a little bit more time on very tricky shots. And according to Mike, the Pro Tour said we will not allow any back-to-back time extensions. So to me, that means you can't take like 90 seconds per shot. And to go along with that, the players on your card can kind of call you on a time violation warning, but now it's going to be basically just a time extension, no penalty, just you're allowed 2 time extensions per round, and the third one will be a penalty stroke. We finally get approval to play Monday rounds. So for courses like Kansas City Wide Open that didn't actually get to see Sunday's round, we will be able to play on Monday and get some degree of finality. Again, this is only majors and elite series, and it has to be specified by the TD. There's a little bit more requirements, and again, not officially approved, but overall, just great change. Next up, required relief really is required. I feel like a lot of us have been playing relief as like, if I want to play it from there, I will. So basically, if your lie is in like a creek, you can't play it from the creek, even if it is relief, you have to play it behind the creek. It's probably just good safety for all players. Although there has been a couple times where I played for like a crazy lie that was relief, and it was just fun. It wasn't like a benefit to me, it was just kind of fun to be in a weird position. But again, it's just a common sense rule change that benefits everybody. And to go along with that, the benefit of the doubt goes to the player is officially gone. That was being totally misapplied to tons of instances where they probably shouldn't have been. So now the thrower can only be the tiebreaker, aka if you have like a card of 3 and 2 people have different stances, you are the tiebreaker. But spotters can be temporary TDs, so they can also be the person making the call. And I feel like this doesn't necessarily fix the rule, but I do hope that we see less and less applications of benefit of the doubt goes to player for everything. I've seen a lot of players that I've played with, they could introduce like the smallest inch of doubt on whether a disc was actually in bounds or not. And it's like, no, you know it's out of bounds. You're just being so obtuse with the rules, trying to give yourself a stroke when we all know it's out of bounds. There just might be one tiny strand that looks like it's maybe in, maybe out, but like we know it went out. Next up, players' provisionals can't partially pick. So basically there's the elimination of choice between 2 lies, whether a disc was out of play and then found, aka people kind of choosing the more favorable lie. Again, I haven't really seen this too much where they call provisional, but then they actually find the lie and they're like, okay, I want to play from here, but it's like, no, you can call provisional. So this is kind of, again, already a rule, but now it is more clear, so you can't abuse it. And so that concludes the rule changes proposed for 2026. Now that I say it all back, it's not that many big changes, but it is just so many quality of life changes that I'm sure will benefit so many tournaments, especially C tiers and flex starts. But with that said, do you guys actually like being allowed to have 45 seconds on a normal throw, or do you think that's still too long? I'd love to know. And do you think having 2 time extensions per round will be a benefit to the players, or will it be a hindrance allowing even longer play? I'd love to know. But with that, be sure to subscribe. Wild Runs, signing out. Peace.
Don't let go. Chasing a